Star Wars is one of the most difficult games for the NES. It's mostly a side-scrolling action game, but there are also several other game modes, including first-person space battles. It may not be as notorious as games like Ninja Gaiden or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it probably was responsible for just as many broken controllers. Star Wars was developed by Lucasfilm Games, a company that was spun off from George Lucas's original movie studio that created the Star Wars films. Lucasfilm Games would later change their name to LucasArts, and you might think that this company would be primarily focused on making Star Wars games, but they actually had spent most of their time making unrelated titles like Maniac Mansion or The Secret of Monkey Island. It's not like Lucasfilm Games didn't want to develop Star Wars games, they just didn't actually have the license to make them. Atari and Broderbund held licenses to make games based on the Star Wars movies, and exclusivity clauses in their licensing agreements prohibited George Lucas's own in-house studio from making games. The final movie in the original trilogy came out in 1983, but Lucasfilm Games wasn't able to get the license back until the early 90s. Once Lucasfilm finally did get the license back, they immediately got to work on making their own game. The NES was the popular system of the time, so development centered on the version for it, but they did want the game to be playable on multiple platforms, so some other companies were hired to help with the conversions. Similar but slightly different versions of the game were eventually released for the Sega Master System, the Sega Game Gear, and even the monochromatic Game Boy. The version of Star Wars that came out in Japan for the Famicom, however, is completely different. This one was created by Namco and features all kinds of wild, non-canon Star Wars action. Australian developer Beam Software helped out with the NES version. They often worked on ports and conversions of games, but they did occasionally create their own original titles, including the cult classic Nightshade. The primary designer on Star Wars was a guy named Akilah Redmer. As director of development at Lucasfilm Games, Redmer worked on a lot of their great original titles like Loom and the Monkey Island series. He would later go on to work for Microsoft, where he was one of the primary creators of their Xbox 360 console. Star Wars was published in North America by JVC because at this point, why not involve another company? The game debuted on store shelves in late 1991, just in time for Christmas shopping. The Super Nintendo was the hot video game gift that year, but I have a feeling a lot of kids got this game instead of an expensive new console. The game sold well, and although the awesome Super Star Wars series was already in development for the Super Nintendo, they still released a sequel, The Empire Strikes Back, in 1992. Sadly, LucasArts never made an 8-bit Return of the Jedi game to complete the trilogy. Although the game is fun, it can be very frustrating. The platforming controls well enough, and you'll be able to freely swap between 3 different playable characters from the pause menu. Lucasfilm Games does a great job of following the story of the movie and includes some nicely rendered cutscenes. My biggest complaint with the game are the first-person spaceflight levels. While I appreciate the added variety, and it is impressive to see first-person gameplay on the NES, these levels take some practice to get good at, but if you die here, instead of just losing a life, you unfairly lose an entire continue. It's brutal. This game does not appear on IGN's list of the top 100 NES games of all time, and I think it's these spaceflight levels that really hold the game back. Modern players that attempt this game will still have to deal with all of the challenges the NES is notorious for, with knockback from enemies, fall damage, floaty anti-gravity platforming challenges, and space battles that can wipe you out in seconds. This game won't be easy. They may give you 10 continues to complete this one, but you'll wish they gave you more. But what if I told you the secret to gaining a ton of extra lives at the very beginning of the game? What if I showed you secret shortcuts and hidden areas so you can have every advantage in the platforming levels? And what if I told you how to complete every objective, even the Death Star trench run, so you can finish the game at 100%? Well, on today's episode of You Can Beat Video Games, we'll learn all of that and more. If you're new to the channel, we're doing deep dives on retro video games and giving you the professional strategies that can be used by the casual gamer. Please make sure to subscribe and check out YouCanBeatVideoGames.com for episode lists, news, and official You Can Beat Video Games merchandise. Let's get started. All right, Star Wars. Here at the beginning, we have the classic Star Wars text crawl. This is a difficult game, but as long as we don't lose a lot of lives and have to spend our continues in the platforming sections, we'll be free to use those extra continues to beat the difficult spaceflight zones, and if we can just get through those, then we'll be able to finish this game. You can do it. And we start with a bit of story. Episode 4, A New Hope. It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. If you think you may have heard this story somewhere before, that's because it was the plot of an episode of The Family Guy. Or maybe it was Robot Chicken. Or both. Yeah, both. So if you're familiar with this, that's probably where you've seen it before, right? And here we do see a pretty cool cutscene that imitates the beginning of the actual movie. They do a nice job of this. I mean, you do have to admit, for an 8-bit system like the NES, that is a pretty cool-looking Imperial-class Star Destroyer. Not bad work there. After this, though, they do take a few small liberties with the story. Of course, Luke Skywalker and Uncle Owen have purchased the 2 droids from the Jawas, but this time when R2-D2 wanders off, he gets captured by the Jawas again. It seems that C-3PO tried to tell him that because he's practically a garbage can on wheels, going out into the desert on his own wasn't a good idea, but it seems that we're going to have to go and save him. But first, we enter this cave. Now, I want to show you that you do not have to go into the cave if you don't want to. You can just walk right back out and go wherever you want. But you probably do want to do the laser cave first. Getting this gun upgrade at the end here is part of the 100% completion, and it's nice to be able to shoot a weapon a little bit faster. It will come in handy. We're going to be using our blaster a lot in this game, so that's the regular, and now you can see how much faster it is. And if you have a turbo controller, you can really shoot it fast. Is it a little bit weird that R2-D2 goes missing and the first thing Luke thinks to do is go and get his killin' gun? I mean, why is he hiding that gun anyway? Is he trying to keep it from the space police? Does that gun have bodies on it? Well, in any case, if we head to the upper right corner, we can enter this purple and blue cave where Obi-Wan hangs out. Now, there is some fall damage in this game, and you can see that. You don't want to fall too far. And another thing you can do is if you get too many enemies on the screen, a lot of them will just blow up. Now, when you fight that guy, you definitely want to duck down and shoot him because his chest will open up and shoot lasers. And if you run really fast and drop through the ground there, you need to be holding down the run button when you do this and also be holding to the left. You can land on that platform, and that's a shortcut to get over here to Obi-Wan. You need to be holding down the B button to run, so that is very important. Using running jumps in this game will allow you to jump a lot farther. Now let's take a look at the lightsaber, which we can now select from the pause menu. You'll notice that Obi-Wan didn't join us yet, and that's because we don't have R2-D2. But the reason why we came here first is we can get a whole bunch of extra lives. You may have noticed that we were able to get 2 extra lives, and those extra lives will respawn every time we come into this cave, which is awesome. So you want to head over here, get a running start to jump across, and make sure that you don't fall through the floor. There's like a little bit differently colored background where the floor drops out. And even though we have the lightsaber, which can kill that guy in one hit, it's still a little bit better to just shoot him with the blaster from across that pit. He will not jump across to come and get you. You can still leave the cave by taking the shortcut to Obi-Wan, but if you drop down this way, there's some extra energy that you can pick up. That big blue orb will refill your health. And we should probably go back and just max out our lives. We'll use that lightsaber again. One thing you need to be careful with the lightsaber is if you're in the air when you're attacking, it's not like Ninja Gaiden. You won't just cleave right through the enemies, you'll actually kind of bounce backwards when you hit them in the air. So you mostly want to be using the lightsaber when you're on the ground. You can also use it to deflect blaster bolts, so it will keep you safe from those if you can swing it with good timing. You'll notice that we can only hold a maximum of 7 lives. Whenever we picked up that 8th extra life, it did not count. And if we were to die here, we will go down to 6. It's not like it's counting the extra lives right now in the background. Be very careful of those super Tuscan raiders. If you touch them, they will deal massive damage to you, and you'll probably lose a life. But you do know where you can get more at this point. Now that we've maxed out our lives, let's go to the Sandcrawler and rescue R2-D2. It's in the upper left corner. C-3PO's scanners show that R2-D2's in there. Well, thanks a lot, 3PO. Glad we brought you along. This Sandcrawler level will give you excellent practice on all of the different hazards and platforming challenges that you'll need to be good at to beat this game. Duck down to take out that Jawa and get a running start to jump across. Over here on the left side, we'll find a blue orb which can refill your health, but ignore the ladder on the left side, that's a dead end. Instead, use those upwards arrows which will launch you into the air, and do a running jump to get across. Whenever you do a running jump with the help of a conveyor belt, you can jump super high and super far, and you'll need to be able to do that a few times here. Do a running jump to get across, and then you just want to drop down back into the arrows and vault yourself up. There's an extra life you can get on the right side, but it's kind of a pain to get it, and we already have a bunch of extra lives, so we don't really need it. Be careful of those crushers, they will deal a ton of damage, and just make your way across the top here. When you get up here, you're almost to the end. You can just start running here, and just run across and do a big jump off that conveyor belt, and over here is where R2-D2 is. Now if you miss the jump and you land on that conveyor belt below, just do a running jump and curve it around, and you can get right up to where R2 is with no problem. R2-D2 says he's the property of a General Kenobi, so now that we have him, Obi-Wan will join us. But that's not all that R2 does. He'll also reveal maps of the Death Star, and when we finally attack with our X-Wing, he'll be able to regenerate some of our shields. He's not a playable character, but we'll be happy to have him along. This green cave on the far right side of the map is known as the Crawler Cavern, and this is the best place to get shields for the Millennium Falcon. They look like little Millennium Falcons with like a green line around them. And the enemies here are pretty easy to defeat. They're just these big slugs which can be quickly taken out with the lightsaber or shot with the blaster. Either way, they're pretty simple. Now you need to duck down to shoot them with the blaster, and I kind of recommend ducking to use the lightsaber as well. You can exit down here at the bottom, but if you don't mind losing a few lives, well, you can really quickly pick up the shields in this cave. So they're going to respawn just like the extra lives did, and we're just going to recklessly drop down here because we know how to get extra lives, we just need to go into Obi-Wan's cave. Oh, and I did want to point out that you can kill items with the lightsaber, which is something that you definitely want to avoid. So you can see how quick it was to grab that shield and just die. You can grab as many shields as you want this way and then go get some more lives over in Obi-Wan's cave. Or you can just go to the bottom the whole way, but this is the best place to get shields for the Millennium Falcon. Just get all 8 shields right here if you want them. 8 is the most shields that you can have, and if you're new to the game and you haven't flown the Millennium Falcon before, well then you should definitely be trying to get all 8. There are some other places where you can get shields, so we'll go over that in a minute. But first, let's stop back at Obi-Wan's cave and refill our lives, and this time whenever we meet Obi-Wan, because we have R2-D2 with us, he's going to join our team. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is an excellent ally to have. He is going to be very helpful moving forward. But yeah, let's first grab those extra lives, and we know how to deal with this Tuscan Raider. Although he's like some kind of super Tuscan Raider that can open his chest and shoot lasers. I don't think that guy is canon. And remember, you need to be holding the run button and left when you drop through that passage. So run from the right side, and you'll be able to catch that ledge. Obi-Wan has joined us. And if you need more lives, remember, you can still continue to repeat this cave as many times as you need to. Princess Leia says, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." To be fair, she didn't know about her twin brother that also has space wizard powers. Now that we have Obi-Wan on our team, there's a bunch of other caves on Tatooine that we can explore, and none of them are mandatory, and none of them are going to add to that 100% completion percentage, but we'll take a look at them anyway. I highly recommend using the Crawler Cavern instead of any of these other ones to get shields for the Millennium Falcon, but I'll show you what's in these places so you can see them anyway. These guys are the regular Tuscan Raiders, and they are very fast runners, and if they touch you, they will deal massive damage. If you don't have full health when this guy touches you, you're dead. And if you do have full health, well, you won't have very much left after you get touched by that guy. So the best way to deal with these Tuscan Raiders is to shoot them from a distance with your blaster. They will not leave the ledge or platform that they're on, and they will not jump over gaps. So they can jump, but they won't jump over anything, they just jump up into the air. There's a couple of them over here, so you can duck down and shoot this one from the higher ledge. And there's a shield for the Millennium Falcon. This one was a little bit more work than the ones over in the Crawler Cavern, as you can see. The spikes in this game won't kill you instantly, but they deal a ton of damage, and it's going to be pretty hard to get out of a spike pit without dying, so you want to avoid those for sure. Stay down here and take out that last Tuscan Raider, and there's some extra health right there near the exit. There's a few more caves that we can check out. There's one all the way over here nestled between these rocks. So we'll check out that one next. This cave is called the Rockhound's Lair, and it looks a lot like the Crawler Cavern, but the enemies are different here, as is the entire layout. This one has a bunch of spikes at the bottom, and if you're not afraid to take a bunch of fall damage, you can get to the bottom pretty quickly here, so this may be a second best option for finding shields for the Millennium Falcon if you don't like going to the Crawler Cavern, but that's the one I definitely recommend using. If we come down here by Luke's Laser Cave, there's a largemouth cavern in the bottom left that is purple and quite massive inside. There's a lot of loot in this place, known as the Tuscan Cave, but it may not be worth the effort to get it. When you see these rocks, you want to take a few steps backwards and jump over them. They always seem to come in pairs, so be prepared for the second rock whenever you see a first one. Carefully make your way across these platforms and watch out for that dripping green ooze. And as you come across to the right, there's a slug that you'll want to take out, and then you'll want to get a running start before you make the next jump. And you may also want to equip the lightsaber. Try to coax out that flying insect before jumping across to the next platform. A quick slash with your saber will make it safe to cross, and you'll want to drop down here and get the health and take out the next insect, and then you can just run off the side to get to the lower platform, but you will have to jump to get down here. You can take out that enemy with one slash of your lightsaber, but if you touch him, you will take a lot of damage, and there's sort of a false wall over here. Watch out for this guy. I do recommend switching back to the blaster to fight him and get up onto his level, duck down, and shoot him, or you'll probably take a bunch of damage from those lasers. You can see why I don't really recommend going into this cave. There's a bunch of spikes at the bottom, lots of difficult platforming, and if you do finish it, you'll get a bunch of good rewards, but it's so much easier to just quickly grab a few shields over in that crawler cavern and not have to do any of this stuff. So there's some Tuscan Raiders down here. Head over here and trigger this guy. Run back and start shooting him with your blaster. And then there's another regular Tuscan Raider over here. It seems like we kind of surprised him and he was just standing there. That really does not seem like the kind of thing that a light side Jedi should be doing. However, there's 2 shields down here, so if you do make this trip, well, at least there's a lot of stuff that you can get. Head back over here to the right, and that's where the exit is. So the Tuscan Cave, it's difficult, but there is a lot of good stuff in there. Once again, I recommend just avoiding that one and sticking to the crawler cavern. Alright, now that we've checked out all of the caves here on Tatooine, well, our next destination is that wretched hive of scum and villainy, Mos Eisley. Mos Eisley Spaceport is home to the Cantina bar, and that's the first place we're going to head to, so make sure to press up to enter the Cantina. When you get in here, you'll see a purple guy. You want to just back off when you see him. He can't be killed by your blaster, but if you just walk him off the screen, it is possible to despawn him. These green guys are called Rodians, and that's the type of alien that Greedo is. We need to shoot first against those guys, so just pelt them with blaster fire to get them out of the way. There's another one of those purple aliens in the bottom, so watch out for him. Take out any Rodians that are in your way and make your way to the far right, where we'll meet up with Captain Han Solo. This is awesome! Now we actually have a second playable character, so we don't have to be Luke Skywalker all the time. And here in the Cantina, if you do die as Han Solo, you'll just be able to immediately talk to him and collect him again, so there's no reason to not play Han as you fight your way out of here. He still can't take out that purple guy, but no big deal. You'll notice that Han doesn't take as much damage as Luke does, and his blaster deals a lot more damage than Luke's. It's very good whenever you're fighting against stormtroopers. If Han dies, you just need to talk to Obi-Wan, and Han will be revived. So you don't need to worry too much about playing as the other characters. You do have a way to get them back, and that way is Obi-Wan. You can only use Obi-Wan 5 times, however, and that includes continues and everything, so you only get 5 uses, and then he'll start saying that he senses a disturbance in the Force. So you don't want to have Han die too many times. I like to use Luke in this part because of all of these Mandalorians. If you wonder what happened to all the Mandalorians before the show, well, it seems that Luke killed them all here in Mos Eisley. Yeah, didn't know that, did you? Make sure that you lightsaber that stormtrooper that's standing up near the door. That is where the exit is, and that's where we need to get to, but we need to wrap around to the right first and then jump back to the left. So we can take this guy out, and because we killed that other guy, when we do a running jump over here to the left, there's no enemy in our way. Nice. We've arrived at Mos Eisley Hangar number 94. There's a lot of stormtroopers down here, so it might be a good time to give Han Solo a chance. Just blast through these fools. Yeah, take that, stormtroopers. Make sure to jump over their lasers, though. We don't want Han to die. You do only get 5 uses of Obi-Wan, so if it gets low on health, you might want to switch back to Luke. Let's switch back to Luke here anyways. It's interesting that Han Solo always has the same music, but there will be different music for Luke depending on where you are. That's a tough part to get through without getting hit, but you can jump over those lasers. It is possible. Watch out for this thing that shoots a big laser beam. and we can fill up Han's health since he had taken some damage. These upward arrows will blast you up into the air, but if you take a quick detour over here to the left, we'll find another one of those blue orbs that can refill your health, but you need to carefully time your jump to get it. Head back up the arrows. If you don't have the full 8 shields for the Millennium Falcon, you want to launch yourself all the way to the top here, and you can find one in the upper left corner. So there it is right there. It's between 2 of those laser cannons, so you might take some damage getting it, but there is another health item here that we'll be able to pick up before we go. So just make your way over here to the right, and there it is. So if you took some damage trying to get that shield, no big deal, you'll be able to refill a bit right there. And then you can just work your way back down here. If you already had all 8 shields, well then you don't need to worry about getting that one or this one that's also hidden between the lasers. Once you have your full complement of shields, now if you're very good at the game, maybe you don't need all of the shields, but the last thing you want to do is just stupidly lose entire continues because you ran into asteroids with the Millennium Falcon. And if you have 8 shields, that is going to make things a lot easier moving forward. We're almost at the end now. Carefully make your way past these laser turrets, and there's 2 stormtroopers here at the end. You'll want to get around their laser fire and either lightsaber them or shoot them with Han Solo's heavy blaster pistol. Chewie, get us out of here! And with that, it's time to take control of the Millennium Falcon. Bad news for you Alderaan fans. That place doesn't exist anymore. It seems to have been blown away. In here, there's a bunch of asteroids which seem to be the remains of the planet. Pretty sad stuff. What you want to do, and I've found the best strategy, is to just try to aim at the darkest parts of the screen so that you're floating around the asteroids. You can try to make a small circular pattern, that seems to work pretty well. But if you do take some hits from the asteroids, each one of your shields can absorb 2 hits. So you can actually take a whole bunch of asteroid impacts before you'll go down, but you do need to survive this for quite some time, so don't take it lightly. You can easily take a bunch of hits very fast if you're not paying attention. Oof, like there, that was rough. This is one of those down is up is down kind of games, so you'll need to get used to that. And once you lose control of your ship, you'll know you've completed the level, because that's no moon, it's a space station. That's right, we're stuck in the Death Star's tractor beam. Alright, we made it to the Death Star. This hangar level that we start in is not all that different from the one that we left in Mos Eisley. You can use Han Solo to quickly get through these stormtroopers with his heavy blaster pistol. If he gets low on health, you can switch back to Luke, but if he dies, remember you can always use Obi-Wan Kenobi to bring him back to life. Just keep making your way to the right, and I guess we'll switch back to Luke for a while. Over here, we can jump over that guy with a heavy gun. Don't try to kill that stormtrooper, you will not be able to. Just try to sneak past him. Carefully make your way up using the zero gravity arrows. One thing that I do want to point out, whenever you launch yourself up with those arrows, you will not take fall damage when you land, so you can drop as far down as you want. You need to make your way over to this door on the left side, and that will take you to the main part of the Death Star. We want to just head straight over to the right and enter this door, which will take you into the control room. Entering the control room is not mandatory, but it is important for getting 100% completion. Once you make it to the far right side, we'll find the computer outlet, and now R2-D2 will be able to show you maps of the Death Star. So that's pretty cool. To do it, you're just going to pause the game and you'll select R2-D2 from the menu, and he'll immediately bring up that map so you can see what that looks like. There it is. Now that red door on the right side in the upper part of the map, that's where we need to get to. So we'll switch back to Luke here, and we're going to make our way to the right. Now this part is a bit of a maze, so get a good running jump and head across and then take the first elevator down. We're going to make our way over to the right and take the first door up, And then just head over to the right. We can use Han Solo here to clear out a stormtrooper. It's probably the most efficient way to take him out, unless you're pretty good with the lightsaber, which will also remove the stormtrooper in a single hit. From here, we need a running jump to the left, and then take the elevator up, but quickly get ready to try to avoid this heavy gunner. Remember, don't try to kill that guy, just avoid him. Over here, we can restore some health, and then take the elevator all the way up to the top. We'll jump across some platforms, patiently wait for that robot that drops the missiles to get out of the way. Just wait for him to get out of the way, and do a running jump. Make sure to start on the right side of that small platform to get enough run space so that you get a good run to make a farther jump. And take this elevator up. We can use Han again to clear out another stormtrooper. And head on up to the top. We're almost at the end now. So that door that we just passed, that's where we need to go to, but to get there, we need to make a few running jumps across and then take this elevator down. And that is the door that will take us to the tractor beam core. Now this is kind of a boss, but to beat him, you want to go to that precise part of the ladder, jump to the right and swing your lightsaber. If you miss, make sure to hold to the right so that you land down in the bottom, and then you can try it again. But it only takes one good swing with a lightsaber to take that out. Now here in the second part of the Death Star, this is the detention block, and this is a more difficult maze. I've highlighted the path on the map. We need to get to Princess Leia. You can easily get lost running around this place. Make a running jump across the gap there and take the elevator up. From here, we're going to head to the right and do another running jump across, and then just take the second elevator, which will take you all the way down to the bottom. And this is where we're going to find the princess. She's in the second door on the right. So now we actually have a third character that we can switch between, which is awesome. Princess Leia actually can jump farther than the other characters, and her weapon does pack a punch. One other thing that I want to mention here, if both Han and Leia are dead and you use Obi-Wan, he will bring them both back to life for only one charge of his ability. Now there's an awesome shortcut to the end here. If you jump off and hold to the right, you want to get into the middle of that gray stripe and then just start mashing up. Just rapidly tap up so that as soon as you get to the elevator, you'll go in the door immediately and you won't take any fall damage. And that will take you down to the bottom, which will take you here to the Death Star escape. You're going to need to use your conveyor belts and all your zero gravity action to get through this one. Don't try to kill this enemy, jump over him, and make your way to the right. If you go all the way to the right here, we'll be able to grab some extra health, so use that opportunity to fill up whoever is low. This is a longer one of the levels, so if any of your characters get low on health, you may just want to switch between them all. Make sure to make use of all your characters at this point in the game, and you should have no problem completing the more difficult platforming stages. You need a big running jump, and you want to jump from the very end of that conveyor belt to get up and over there, and then wait for this masher to drop before jumping forward. It can deal you a lot of damage, especially if you're Luke. Just avoid these power droids, and just go up onto this zero gravity launcher again. From here, we're going to make our way to the upper left corner, and that's going to get us to the trash compactor. Alright, that wasn't too difficult, right? Into the garbage chute, flyboy. It seems that we've discovered an incredible smell. That thing is known as the Dianoga, and I like to just attack over here on the left side, and it should pop up out of the ooze, and you can take it out in one swing with your lightsaber. This is the game's final platforming stage, and we will definitely be tested here. Luke will not be able to make this next jump, but Leia can. Get a running start and jump across. Then you just want to avoid that gunner and jump onto that anti-gravity field to launch yourself upwards. We'll switch back to Luke here. His lightsaber could be good against this next stormtrooper, or we could use Han, whose heavy blaster pistol will eviscerate that guy. Nice. If we just run off here to the right, we can go through the wall, and this is where we'll find a hidden treasure trove of blue orbs that can refill our health. We'll be able to refill our entire team over here if we want to. If anybody's short on health, make sure to switch over to them and fill them up. There's 3 orbs right here, and then you can use the ladder to get down to the bottom. If you need another orb, there is another one over here to the right, but it's a little bit more difficult to get. You just want to launch up and get over that gunner. You may take some damage trying to get that one though if you're not ready for it, so if you don't need the health, you don't want to go over there, just make your way back to the ladder and climb on up. It is very difficult to jump from the ladder here without getting hit by the spikes, so don't worry about it too much. But from here you want to get back into that anti-gravity field and launch yourself up and to the left. You don't want to go too far up on the launcher there, or you'll end up in some spikes. Carefully jump over that gunner, and to be safe, I recommend bouncing off the top of that anti-gravity field just to make sure you have enough oomph to get over. A few running jumps will get you to the ladder, and you'll want to take it down to the bottom. We're going to jump over a few more enemies here, and take another anti-gravity field upwards. You know the drill at this point, but this time you need to carefully weave your way between those spikes. So make sure that you're ready to push to the right as soon as you get into that anti-gravity field. You want to push as soon as you're past those spikes. Over here, when you get to the end of that green line in the background, this enemy will assault you. So if you head back to the right, you can jump over him. And there's an extra life here if you need it, but you may just want to try to get past the gunner and get into the Millennium Falcon, because lives aren't going to be super important moving forward. There's 2 more first-person shooter levels coming up. In my personal opinion, this next stage is the most difficult one in the entire game. Instead of controlling the Millennium Falcon this time, you're controlling this red targeting reticle that you can use to aim at the enemy TIE fighters, and then you'll press the B button to shoot at them. Unlike before when down was up and up was down, well, those controls are reversed now. So whenever you press up, the reticle will move upwards, and when you press down, the reticle will move downwards. You'd think that maybe they could pick one and stick with it, but no, that's not how it works here. You want to prioritize shooting the green energy balls, because if those hit you, they'll deal damage. I don't know if you need to kill all of the TIE fighters that fly past you at the beginning, but as you move forward in this stage, a lot of the TIE fighters will just linger on the screen and keep circling around while continuing to shoot you with the green energy balls. Whenever they're doing that, you do need to clear those TIE fighters or the game will not move on. Sometimes they move to the corners of the screen, and that's a good spot to shoot them in because they seem to come forward there and they'll be a little bit easier to hit. You can move your targeting reticle over the entire screen, so you do not need to stay in the circle in the middle. Don't let that confine you. You can move wherever you need to go. Destroying the TIE fighters that circle around and shoot you is by far the most difficult part, so that's what you need to get good at. They seem to follow the same patterns every time, so you'll notice their flight paths. You still need to prioritize shooting at those green energy balls, but yeah, you need to get rid of those TIE fighters or they're just going to continue to dog you the entire time. C-3PO may have said that our chances of survival were 3,720 to 1, but with a little bit of practice and maybe a few continues, you will be able to persevere through this one. And when you see the stars start moving fast like that, you'll know that you've done it. So I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news is that there's another first-person spaceflight stage that we need to do next. The good news is this one's a little bit easier than that last one. We're going to be taking control of our X-Wing this time, and the X-Wing is a good bit more powerful. Now, we're actually able to fly the ship this time, and it's another one of those up is down and down is up situations. So we got that going on again. But now we can control the targeting reticle as well. So we're kind of controlling the ship and the target. and we can move away from the enemy shots. So if there's a lot of those green balls coming your way, you can just kind of move out of the way from them. The TIE Fighters also seem to be a larger target in this stage, so they're a bit easier to hit. There's also less stuff on the screen getting in your way. So this one overall is easier. Assuming you rescued R2-D2 from the Sandcrawler at the beginning of the game, he can actually restore some of your lost shields while you're fighting this battle. So as long as you can go for a little while without taking some damage, you'll start to hear a noise, and that noise will be R2 restoring your shields. Your best bet at surviving this battle is to try to just move away from the shots, shoot any green energy balls that come through your field of vision, and try to destroy as many TIE Fighters as you can. The stage does not seem to end until you've destroyed enough TIE Fighters, so make killing those a priority. Alright, we're low on health already, but I don't think there's too many more TIEs that we need to take down. Luckily we have R2 with us. If we didn't have R2, I think we'd be dead already, actually. Alright, just a few more TIE Fighters. Come on. Once we survive this stage, if you had lives left on your continue and you didn't die or anything, we'll go back to the 1 death, 1 life lost model for the final stage. So you just gotta get through this one. This is the last big hurdle. I don't think that the trench is actually as difficult as this stage. Alright, we did it. We've made it to the final battle. It's time to move in and make our trench run. Here we go. You want to move a bit forward here when you get into the trench because the first TIE Fighter will sneak up behind you, but you can kind of juke him into a wall and get rid of it. Stay on the left path, that's probably the easier way to go, but then cut over to the right and stay along the right wall. Here you want to try to get to the middle, so the middle path is probably the easiest way to go here. So stay in the center for both of those intersections. The exhaust port is coming up. Get ready to press the A button when you see it, right there. And that's it. The Death Star has been destroyed. Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million. We've done it. We've beaten Star Wars for the NES. All we can do now is sit back, relax, and enjoy the cheesy ending. Now, this part could be different if you didn't have all of these characters alive at the end or you didn't rescue them. And it's kind of weird that Leia's up on the podium. She's the one that would normally be giving out the medals in the movie. And what about Chewie? Where's Chewie's medal? Come on! And why not R2-D2 and C-3PO? Or even Obi-Wan? I don't think Obi-Wan actually died this time. And there it is. Final percent completion, 100%. Well, I hope this video was able to help you finally beat Star Wars for the NES and restore peace to the galaxy. If it did, make sure to give it a like and make sure to subscribe for more videos. Because there will always be more evil galactic empires to overthrow, and that's why we'll be back again next week with another video game you can beat. Thanks for watching.